tubers.
So hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Andrew and I'm your Stuttering Tech, and today I'm going to be talking about the issues that I've been having with the Pixel in the month and a half that I've had this device. Now, at the moment, I have not received the December update that Google is starting to roll out as of yet, and I read somewhere that it's supposed to fix upwards of 80 different issues that people have been complaining about with the Pixel 6 series. Now I'm going to go ahead and start in no particular order. And this one is not a software issue, it's a hardware issue that I've noticed. I've mentioned this in my full review of this device. And that is the glare that comes off of the curve. Now, I've said before that I've had curved screen display from Samsung and I've never noticed this glare that comes off of this device. I mean, of those displays, but I do notice it on this OLED display here. I don't know if it's the OLED or it's the Gorilla Glass, but it's very reflective, especially like when I'm riding the train on the bus and the light from the outside hits it, or especially when you're watching content in landscape, it kind of puts a line through the content on the curve part on the curve where the display curves. So if you have content that goes over that curve all the way to the curve, you will start to see that glare, and it looks like there's a line just going right through the display, and it's very distracting. Now, I've gotten used to it, that's something that happens all the time. It depends on where you are, and I mean, I'm on a bus near the window, I get that glare. If I'm somewhere standing on the bus where, I'm not getting any harsh sunlight, then I don't notice that. But as I mentioned before, this is something I haven't noticed on the Samsung devices with the curve, and maybe I've been paying attention to it then, but I do notice it with this phone, and it does put that glare right back into your eye. Now, the second thing I want to touch on, no pun intended, is the touch input recognition. That's something that it seems to sometimes when it doesn't read my touch input, especially when like I'm playing a game and the X, like a lot of these games now have ads, and if the ad comes up and to exit the ad, the X comes anywhere close to that curve on the display, when you tap it, it does not always exit out of the game. It just keeps going to exit out of that ad. It keeps on going to the Play Store, and you have to do it multiple times in order for it to exit out. And it happens more often than not, and it's something that I notice it does. And it also sometimes in certain especially when the phone is heating up, is getting warm, it starts to happen a lot more. And over, let's say, the last 2 weeks, it has been happening a lot less. A lot of these issues, it's fixed itself without the update. So I don't know, maybe the phone needed to be broken in, but a lot of these things solved itself. So that doesn't really happen as often as the first 4 weeks that I've had this device. Now, talking about the freezing, yes, this device at first, the first, I say, 3 weeks, it froze a lot, especially when the phone got warm. It's like when the phone gets too hot, apps start to freeze, and some apps will just crash, and it will happen in the middle of playing a game. The game will just start freezing, and it will close out, or will ask me to close the game, that the game is not responding, and it will happen. But I don't know if it's the game, because I did do updates to a lot of these games that I do play. There were updates, and it seemed to fix the issue. So maybe it was the games or the app that I was using, because it doesn't happen anymore. And I noticed that the phone doesn't overheat as fast in recent weeks, that it doesn't overheat as fast as it did before. So I think that's something that worked itself out. And it's been working really great on that part. So I don't have any problem with that anymore. As it did happen, I think a day or two ago, in one app, it didn't crash. It kind of stuttered and stayed there for a minute. I couldn't scroll up and down for about 10 seconds, and then it started to move, and it happened on the Chrome browser. But that's the only time I've noticed it in about 2 or 3 weeks that something actually froze on me, and I had to wait a couple of seconds in order to do anything as far as scrolling or typing anything in. Then my next issue is with the camera. Now, this is something that also worked itself out. At first, the camera would freeze, and that would happen constantly, and that would happen when I'm switching from the rear cameras to the front-facing camera, and it will just crash and close out, and I'll have to open it twice. It'll just keep crashing about 2-3 times, and then it'll allow me to switch to the front-facing camera, and it will happen constantly. Now, there was an update in the Play Store for the camera, and once I installed that, it never happened again. So I'm assuming that update fixed that issue, and because it never happened again where the camera closes out when I'm switching from the front-facing camera to the rear, or vice versa. And I'm going to stay on the camera because this is something I also talked about in my full review of this device, and that is with the camera still. And even with the update, it has not fixed the issue that I was having with the zoom, with doing 4 times optical zoom. That has not changed at all. So here I have the Albert Grid box. I have a review coming on this particular product right there. And so this is 4 times zoom, but it's kind of looking, I'm not really sure. It's a lot grainier, and I'm gonna cover up the telephoto. And as you can see, I covered up the telephoto, and it's still not, you can still see it because it's still using the main camera. On 4 times zoom, it's supposed to switch over to the telephoto, but it's using digital zoom instead of switching over to that telephoto lens like it's supposed to. Now I'm going to go ahead, and I've mentioned this before, I could go ahead and I can go all the way to 5, and it's not until I hit about 8 times zoom, and that's when it switches over to that telephoto. As you can see, I'll go back to 1, and I'll go back to 4, because now my finger is completely over that lens, and it's still on that digital zoom until I go all the way up to 8. Once I hit 8, you can see my thumb there in the way, and it's something that has not been fixed even with that update. And then it's very blurry like that. Maybe a handle, nope. 8 times zoom is a bit close, but yes, it doesn't, it's still not zooming like it's supposed to switch over. Now, it did work a couple of times. I did get it to actually work on 4 times zoom. Like I leave my phone off overnight while it charged, and when I turned it back on the next morning, and I tried it, it did switch to telephoto as soon as I went to that 4 times optical zoom. As soon as I went on that 4 times zoom, and also worked in video. But the way how it's acting right now, even if I switch to video, it doesn't even kick into that telephoto, even when I put it all the way up to 8 times zoom. I'll try it right now. So now I'm on video. Let's put that box right back over here, and I'm gonna go to the 4 times zoom. Let me go ahead and cover that lens. As you can see, it's still using digital, but it's not as grainy as in the photos. And I'm still using that digital, and I'm gonna go over, and I'm gonna go all the way up to 8, and it doesn't kick in. I can go all the way up to 20, and it never uses that telephoto lens whatsoever. But it did work. Like I said, if I turn this phone off and leave it off for a couple of hours, it will work fine for a whole day without any issues whatsoever with the telephoto lens. It'll work in video, it'll work in pictures, and there's no issues with on that part of it whatsoever. And sorry about that, clear my throat. And there's no issues with it on that part once that has happened. Now, my final issue with this device would be the network disconnection. This it will happen from time to time where it randomly happens where I'll be walking somewhere, I'll be trying to make a phone call or surfing the web, trying to watch a YouTube video or something like that, and it's saying that I have no network or I can't surf or something like that. Or I'm trying to make a call and it says you cannot place this call right now. Some warning, some kind of strange warning comes up. And then I look, it doesn't say 5G or nothing. There's no reception whatsoever. And it wouldn't come back on. I turn my phone off, turn it back on. It wouldn't come back on until I go up to, I believe it's into the internet settings. Yes, into the internet settings. And while I'm in here, you have to hit this network reset thing in the little option here in the corner. So it's like a 3/4 circle with an arrow, and there's a wrench icon right there next to it. And once you hit on that, it will reset the network. Takes a couple of seconds, about 10-20 seconds, and once it resets it, it'll work. But sometimes it would happen often. Now, I would say in the last 2 weeks it has only happened once. And yeah, this phone it's like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with this phone, and nobody wants to lose reception whatsoever. I don't think anyone wants to be losing reception. Now I'm going to go to my settings and system. Let's go to the system updates. So now, as you can see, I'm still on the November 5th, 2021 update. So when I got this phone on November 5th. I believe it was on November 5th, 14th. So on the 14th, I got this phone, and right when after they set everything up, I had that update. And so I've been on the November 5th. I haven't received the new update. As you see, it's on the latest. It's saying I'm on the it's up to date. So yes, I have not received that update as yet, as I mentioned multiple times already, and I don't know when it's going to come. But again, I hope it fixes a lot of these issues that is happening with this device. Now, like I said, most of mine already worked themselves out. The only real issue is that network disconnecting that it keeps doing, and the camera. And on the camera end with the telephoto zoom, and that's the major part for me now. I know there's people that have issues with charging and stuff like that. I don't, and I have an upcoming video on a couple of PD chargers that I have here that I've been using, and this is my main one. This is the one that I've had for about a year, and it works very, very, very good. And this is a RAV power. Yes, a RAV power charger, and it's 30 watts. That's what I've been using, and it charges the phone up pretty quickly. But I went ahead and got a couple more powerful than the RAV power, and I will leave a link. I will do that. Will be on my upcoming video. So that's what I wanted to talk about in this video, and that's really about it. I really love this phone. Besides, even with the issues. The network disconnection, I think, is the biggest bummer, but it's like I said, it doesn't happen as often anymore, only once in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And yes, it's been really, really good. So go ahead, smash that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to share, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm Andrew, your Stuttering Tech. Peace out.